What if, right when you felt lost, ready to abandon your English practice forever, a single ordinary smile from a woman in a quiet Danish bakery reminded you that progress can begin with the smallest step, and that giving up was never your only option? Morning at the bakery. Imagine the cold wind brushing your face as you walk through a quiet Danish street. The sun is still low, the sky painted in soft gray and pale gold. The air smells faintly of coffee, and every step feels heavy, like your body is awake but your heart is still half asleep. Then you see it, the warm light of a small bakery glowing at the corner, like a safe little island in the middle of the chilly morning. You push the door open, and suddenly the world changes. The smell of fresh bread fills your lungs, sweet and buttery, almost like a hug in the air. Wooden shelves are lined with rye loaves, cinnamon rolls, and pastries that look too perfect to touch. The glass counter reflects the golden light of the lamps, and for a moment you forget the cold, the tiredness, the endless routine of yesterday. It is not just a bakery. It feels like a pause button on life, a place where the outside noise cannot reach you. People stand in a slow-moving line, their voices soft, almost musical. You hear Danish words you don't fully understand, but the rhythm feels calm, like background music you didn't know you needed, and there you are, standing quietly, waiting for your turn. You don't want to speak too loudly. You don't want to sound wrong. Your mind whispers, what if my English sounds broken? What if they don't understand me? So you stay silent, letting the warmth of the bakery cover your silence like a blanket, but something inside you stirs. You don't know why yet, but this bakery, this morning, feels different. You are not just here to buy bread. You are here to find something you didn't know you were missing, because sometimes, the smallest places hide the biggest surprises. And sometimes, a story begins not with a word, but with the smell of fresh bread on a Danish morning. The first smile. You shuffle forward in the line, eyes wandering over the pastries you've already seen 100 times. Your mind is busy rehearsing the same sentence over and over, like a broken record. One coffee. One bread. Simple. Safe. Nothing more. Yet your stomach twists as if you were about to step on stage in front of thousands. Then it happens. The woman behind the counter looks up, and her eyes meet yours. She doesn't rush. She doesn't frown. Instead, she gives you something you didn't expect, something so ordinary, yet so rare in your morning, a smile that is not a big, loud smile. It's gentle, quiet, and real. The kind of smile that says, you are welcome here, exactly as you are. And suddenly, the tight knot inside your chest loosens. For a second, you forget the pressure to speak perfect English. You forget the fear of mistakes. You just breathe. Psychologists say that a smile can trigger your brain to release dopamine and serotonin, the little chemicals that whisper, relax, you're safe. And in that moment, you feel it. The bakery isn't a battlefield anymore. It's a small island of safety, and you're allowed to exist in it without judgment. You don't know this woman. She doesn't know your struggles, your long nights of trying and failing with English videos, your silent frustration when the words get stuck in your throat. She's just doing her job, handing out bread and coffee. Yet, without even realizing, she has handed you something bigger, a reason to keep trying. You take your coffee, you take your bread, and you carry that smile with you as if it were the lightest, brightest package in the world. It lingers, even as you step back into the cold air outside, and you start to wonder, maybe learning English, maybe even learning to live with more courage, doesn't begin with grammar or textbooks. Maybe it begins with a smile. A lonely routine. Picture this: the same gray bus, the same stiff seat, the same quiet ride where no one talks. You watch raindrops race down the window, pretending they are little stories, because real conversations feel too far away. Your life has become a loop: wake up, work, buy bread, go home, repeat. Like a movie stuck on rewind, playing the same scene over and over, loneliness has a strange taste. It's not bitter, not sweet. It's more like warm water, nothing at all, yet always there. You feel it most when you're surrounded by people, hearing Danish words you can't quite follow, English sentences you're too afraid to speak. You want to join in, but the words stay in your mouth, locked behind invisible walls. Science actually explains this well. The human brain craves novelty, new experiences, new voices, new connections. When every day looks the same, your brain starts to shut down its excitement switch. That's why your mornings feel heavy, why your evenings feel silent. Your nervous system is basically saying, nothing changes, so why bother? And yet, somewhere deep inside, you know this isn't the life you wanted. You didn't dream of silence. You didn't move through all these lessons, all those YouTube videos and practice notes, just to stay trapped in your head. You wanted connection. You wanted to be understood, even if it was just with one clumsy English word. That's why that bakery, that tiny smile, felt so loud in your quiet routine. It broke the loop for a moment. It made you feel seen, instead of invisible. And sometimes, that's all it takes to remind you that loneliness isn't permanent. It's just a routine waiting to be interrupted. So the question becomes, will you stay in silence, or will you let that small smile push you toward your first brave word? The power of small gestures. Think about it. Your brain is wired to notice danger, mistakes, and rejection. That's why one rude comment can stick with you for years, while 100 nice words vanish in minutes. But here's the twist: even the tiniest positive gesture, like a smile, can sneak past that negativity filter and change everything for a moment. Neuroscientists call it mirror neurons. When someone smiles at you, your brain copies it, almost like a reflex. You don't even think about it. Your face softens, your body relaxes. Suddenly, your heart beats a little slower. That bakery woman probably had no idea her simple gesture was performing a full-on rescue mission for your nervous system, and isn't that funny? You spend hours worrying about grammar rules, vocabulary lists, and whether you sound good enough in English. Yet, 1 second of eye contact, one human smile, teaches you more about connection than all the textbooks combined. Let's be honest, most of us underestimate these small moments. We think big achievements, certificates, or perfect accents are what matter. But your brain? It's hungry for safety first. Without safety, there is no learning. That's why classrooms often feel stressful. You're too busy protecting yourself from embarrassment to let new words in. But in that bakery, you felt safe. And in safety, learning can finally breathe. It's almost ironic. You wanted to buy bread, but instead you bought a tiny slice of courage. No money was exchanged for it, yet it may be the most valuable thing you've ever carried out of that shop. So, the next time you doubt yourself, remember this: progress doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it whispers with a smile, reminding you that you're not as alone, or as hopeless, as you think. Learning English in silence. Silence can be heavy, can't it? You sit in classrooms, cafes, or even on your bed at night, watching English videos with subtitles, letting the words wash over you but never leaving your mouth. It's like being a ghost at a party. You see everything, hear everything, but no one hears you. You know the words. You've repeated them in your head 1,000 times. But when your tongue tries to move, the sound gets stuck. Why? Because your brain has built a danger alarm around speaking. It remembers every time you hesitated, every time someone looked confused, every time you felt small. That alarm blares louder than any grammar rule. Research shows that learning a language uses two sides of your brain, one for storing words, the other for producing them. Listening alone only feeds one side. Without speaking, your brain's muscle for sound stays weak, like going to the gym but never lifting a weight. You look fit in theory, but in practice, you're still fragile, and so you stay quiet. You order bread with gestures. You nod when someone asks a question, pretending you understood. You laugh when others laugh, hoping they don't notice your silence. Every day, you think, tomorrow I'll try. Tomorrow I'll speak. But tomorrow comes, and the silence wins again. Until that morning. That bakery. That smile that IT didn't teach you vocabulary. It didn't fix your grammar. But it whispered something your brain hadn't heard in a long time. It's okay to try. It's safe here. And sometimes, that's all the permission you need to break the silence. Just once, and that one attempt can start to melt years of fear, word by word, sound by sound. Trying a word. Your hands feel clumsy as you reach for the coins in your pocket. The line behind you is moving, the woman at the counter is waiting, and your brain is screaming, don't say it. Just point. Just nod. Don't embarrass yourself, but then, like a stubborn child, a small word forces its way up your throat. Coffee, you whisper, almost too soft for anyone to hear. It sounds strange, shaky, not like the clean accent you practiced alone in your room. For a moment, you want to swallow it back, pretend it never escaped. And then, you notice something. She understood. No frown, no judgment, no raised eyebrow. She just nods, pours the coffee, and waits. It's the simplest transaction in the world, yet inside you, it feels like landing on the moon. Here's the science. Speaking even one word in a foreign language activates what linguists call productive recall. Unlike passive recall, where you just recognize words, productive recall strengthens memory by forcing your brain to pull information out actively. It's like the difference between watching someone ride a bike and wobbling on the pedals yourself. The wobble is the proof you're learning. Sure, your pronunciation wasn't perfect. Sure, your voice trembled. But perfection never taught anyone a language, mistakes did. And in that moment, your mistake wasn't a failure, it was a beginning. The funny part? No one else in the bakery will remember this. To them, it was just one customer, one coffee. But for you, it was history. A first word spoken out loud, in the wild, in real life, and that tiny word, coffee, will stay with you, not because it's special, but because it was yours. Your courage, wrapped in one shaky syllable. Awkward but real. The moment the word leaves your lips, you feel heat rushing to your face. Your palms sweat, your heartbeat kicks like a drum inside your chest. You glance around, half expecting the other customers to laugh, to whisper, to judge. Of course, no one does. They are too busy with their bread, their phones, their mornings. But your body doesn't care. Inside, it feels like you've just shouted through a megaphone in a silent church. Awkwardness is sneaky like that. It magnifies tiny moments into huge storms. Psychologists call it the spotlight effect, the brain's false belief that everyone is staring at you, when in reality, most people barely notice. You feel like the star of an embarrassing movie, but to others, you're just background noise. Still, that awkwardness has weight. Your tongue stumbles on the second word. You want to say bread, but it comes out crooked, like bread. You cringe at yourself. For a split second, you wish you could vanish into the smell of cinnamon rolls and hide forever, but then, you hear it. The woman nods, repeats the word kindly, and hands you the loaf. No mockery, no sigh, just kindness. And you realize something. Awkwardness is proof you're alive in the moment. It's messy, yes, but it's real. Think about babies learning to walk. They wobble, they fall, they look ridiculous. But no one calls them failures, they're just learners. So why should speaking English be any different? Your bread is the linguistic version of a baby's first step. Awkward? Absolutely. Important? Even more, and here's the punchline, you survived. The awkwardness didn't kill you. In fact, it carved a memory into your brain, a reminder that trying, even clumsily, is infinitely better than staying silent. Day by day progress. The next morning, you hesitate at the bakery door, but something pulls you in. The smell of warm bread, the quiet hum of voices. It feels less like a battlefield now, more like a small classroom disguised as a shop. You stand in line again, heart racing, but this time you're ready to try 2 words instead of 1, coffee, bread. The words come out shaky, but clearer. The woman smiles, nods, hands you your order. And suddenly you realize, you just spoke a whole sentence, short but real. Your chest swells with a mix of pride and disbelief. It feels like planting a seed and watching the tiniest green sprout break through the soil. Progress in language learning rarely feels dramatic. It's not fireworks or sudden fluency. It's more like dripping water wearing down a stone, quiet, steady, invisible at first, then undeniable. Neuroscience confirms this. The brain builds new language pathways through repetition, not perfection. Each attempt lays down a stronger connection, like adding thread after thread until you finally weave a rope. Day after day, you return. Some days, the words tumble out easily. Other days, your tongue feels heavy again. But the point isn't perfection, it's persistence. With every thank you, every good morning, every shaky order, your brain is secretly upgrading itself. What once felt like climbing a mountain now feels like taking steps on a familiar road. And here's the unexpected part. You start to look forward to it. The bakery is no longer just a place for bread. It's your training ground, your safe stage, your secret classroom where courage grows crumb by crumb, word by word. One morning, you catch yourself smiling before she does. And that's when you realize, this isn't just about learning English anymore. It's about learning to live louder, one small word at a time. Unexpected connection. One chilly morning, you stumble over the word sandwich. It comes out twisted, tangled in your mouth. You brace yourself for confusion, maybe even frustration. But instead, the bakery woman tilts her head, repeats the word slowly in English, and gently corrects your pronunciation. No pressure, no shame, just kindness disguised as practice. That small moment feels bigger than a grammar lesson. It's connection. She didn't have to care, didn't have to meet you halfway in English. Yet she did, and your brain lights up like a string of Christmas lamps. Psychologists call this social reward. When someone reacts positively to your effort, your brain releases oxytocin, the same chemical that bonds babies to mothers. Translation. Encouragement glues learning into your memory. Over time, these little exchanges stack up. One corrected word, one shared laugh, one moment of patience. And without realizing it, you're no longer practicing alone in your head. You're in dialogue. You're part of something. The woman doesn't know how many times you wanted to quit, how many notebooks are filled with crossed out words, how many YouTube videos you replayed at midnight. But her kindness sneaks into those empty spaces, planting seeds of motivation where despair used to live. Here's the irony. You thought you needed a teacher, a perfect environment, a structured class. Instead, you found progress in the corner of a bakery, in the smile of a stranger who unknowingly became your partner in learning. And maybe that's the hidden truth about languages. They don't grow in silence. They grow in connection, in awkward exchanges, in the courage to be imperfect in front of another human being. So when she hands you your coffee and says, "Have a nice day," in English, you grin, not because your English is perfect, but because you finally feel like you belong in the conversation. The smile that stays. Weeks turn into months, and the bakery becomes more than just a stop on your way to work. It's a chapter in your story. Every time you step inside, the smell of fresh bread and the warmth of her smile remind you, you are not invisible, and you are not hopeless. It's strange how one tiny gesture, a smile, can echo louder than all your doubts. Science has a name for this too: emotional anchoring. Your brain ties a positive emotion to a place, a person, or a routine. Why, even on mornings when you feel tired, anxious, or ready to give up again, walking into that bakery pulls you back into courage. Your English is still not perfect. Sometimes you still stumble, still blush, still wish you could speak faster. But now, those mistakes don't define you, they train you. You've learned that connection matters more than correctness, and that every imperfect word carries more power than silence ever did. One day, you catch yourself leaving the bakery with a different kind of smile, not hers, but yours. A smile that says, "I can do this. I'm not done yet." And that smile follows you into buses, into offices, into late-night practice sessions. It becomes your quiet reminder that giving up was never your only option. And here's the most beautiful part: she'll probably never know. To her, she was just doing her job, handing out bread and kindness. But to you, she was a spark. Proof that even the smallest human connection can brighten a life, shift a routine, and keep a dream alive. So the next time you doubt yourself, remember that bakery morning. Remember the smell of bread, the sound of your shaky words, and the smile that stayed long after you left. Because sometimes, that's all it takes to keep going. Just one ordinary smile, at the right time. Sometimes, it isn't big victories but small moments, a smile, a word, a connection, that keep us alive in learning. Hold on to them, let them guide you, and you'll never truly walk alone.